I've planned over 1,000 corporate events for companies like Netflix, PwC, Reddit, and here's one question everyone asks first before working with us at Team Out. How much is this going to cost us? Today, I'm going to answer that question for you once and for all. The short answer is that we see people spend on average between $1,500 to $2,500 per person for offsites over several days. But from there, price can go all the way up to all the way down, depending on the type of events and the decisions that you make. I'm Thomas Mazeman, CEO of Team Out, and in this video, I'll break down exactly what corporate events really cost today, show you where every dollar goes, and reveal how different factors like group size, location, and event types affect your bottom line. Plus, I shared a simple strategy that saved our clients over $2 million in venue fees alone. So if you're planning a corporate event and want to avoid overpaying, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss any of our event planning guides. This is information that will save your company thousands of dollars. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's start with the number everyone wants to know. But remember, this is just the beginning of the story. So based on our experience planning over 1,000 events, here's what you can expect to pay in 2025. So for multi-day events with overnight stays, which is usually what people are looking for when coming to us, you're looking at a minimum of $1,500 to an average of $2,500 per person. This typically covers accommodation, food, meeting space, and some activities. Now, if you're just planning a single day event without overnight stays, you can bring that cost down to around $500 per person. For holiday parties, expect to pay around $300 per person for a few hours of food, drinks, and entertainment. But now, if you're planning an executive leadership of sites with all the bells and whistles, that starts at least $3,000 per person and can go much higher depending on the location and amenities. But here's what most people don't realize. Where does all that money actually go? So let me break it down for you. About 36% of your budget goes to accommodation. That's the biggest chunk by far. About 22% goes to food and beverages combined, and only 5% typically goes to activities. Now you keep 23% to cover flights if that's something you handle yourself. And the remaining 13% covers everything else: transportation, AV, equipment, swag, and those unexpected costs that always seem to pop up. But there's one factor that can completely transform your budget, and it's not what most people think. In fact, the next element can be the difference between spending $1,000 per person or $2,500 per person for virtually the same experience. The number of attendees changes everything about your event, including access to a hidden cost-saving opportunity most planners miss. So when you're planning an event for under 10 people, you unlock an entirely different category of venues. Instead of hotels, you can book houses and Airbnbs. And this isn't just a small difference, it's a complete game changer for your budget. With smaller groups, you can access properties that charge a flat nightly rate rather than an in-person pricing or price per room. You'll also have access to kitchen where you can prepare some meals instead of paying for restaurants for every single meal. And you'll also have building meeting spaces without having to pay this extra fee. This approach can bring your all-inclusive cost to under $1,000 per person. That's potentially more than half of what you would pay at an hotel. But once you cross that 10% threshold, everything changes. Now you're looking at an hotel booking with per room pricing. You'll pay for meeting spaces separately, you'll have a food and beverage minimum, and those costs add up very quickly. For example, a 10-person retreat might cost $10,000 in total, but a 50-person retreat won't be just 5 times that amount. It could easily be up to $125K or more, so 12 times the amount, because of the differences we talked about. But there is another factor that can have an even bigger impact on your bottom line, and it's something that most event planners completely overlook until it's too late. The destination you choose can make a $1,000 per person difference, but not for the reason most people think. When we analyze the data from hundreds of corporate events, we see a clear pattern in how location affects your bottom line. So let me break it down for you. European destinations are surprisingly cost-effective. For a 3-night stay, you are typically looking at $1,300 to $1,500 per person all-inclusive. That's significantly less than similar experiences in the US. Now, if you're looking at US cities like Austin, expect to start around $1,700 per person, and that's for a relatively affordable city. So now, if you move to premium destinations like Hawaii or Costa Rica, your starting point jumps to at least $2,000 per person. And obviously, if you're having your eyes on a major metropolitan area like New York or San Francisco, be prepared to spend at least $2,300 per person or more. But here's what most planners miss. The location impacts more than just your venue costs. It affects every aspect of your budget. For example, if your venue is 90 minutes away from the nearest airport, you're not just adding transportation costs. You're potentially adding an extra night of accommodation because people can fly in and out the same day as your event. So these hidden factors can blow your budget faster than anything else. But there is an even more important distinction that defines whether your event feels like a bargain or a waste of money. And it has nothing to do with the price tag. The difference between a 1,000 per person or 4,000 per person event isn't just nicer rooms, it's an entirely different experience. So let's break down what actually you get at each price point so you can decide what makes sense for your company goals and culture. So at the budget-friendly end, under 1,000 per person, you're looking at events focused on cheaper cities with basic accommodations. You'll typically stay in a 3-star hotel or conference centers with a double occupancy rooms to save costs. Activities will be limited and you'll need to cut corners on things like transportation or meals. This approach works well if your event is primarily focused on meetings and work sessions. But be honest with yourself, will your team feel valued and excited about this experience? That's not the point. For some events, depending on your goals, this is perfectly fine. For others, it might send the wrong message. Now, in the mid-range, between 1,500 and 2,500 per person, you hit what I call the sweet spot for most multi-day events. This is where most of the events we organize fall. At this price point, you can access better locations, quality accommodations with private rooms, and a good balance of work and activities. For this kind of events, you'll be able to include special dinners and at least one memorable group activity. And also some customized element like company swap, which is always great. People love that. This range delivers a truly experiential event that makes employees feel very valued, but you still remain financially responsible. Now, at the luxury end, starting around 4,000 per person, you're looking at premium hotels and exotic destinations, high-end activities, and executive level type of amenities. Everything is upgraded, from the food to the transportation to the experiences provided. This level makes sense for executive leadership of sites, incentive trips for top performers, when you're trying to impress key clients or investors. But for most company-wide events, this level of spending isn't necessary to achieve your goals. But no matter which price point you choose, there's always one approach that consistently saves our client 30% on their event costs. And this is not what most people try first. When planning a corporate event, you essentially have 3 options. First, you can do it yourself. This seems like the cheapest option because there is no planning fee. But the reality is you'll miss on cost-saving opportunities because you don't have relationship with venues or leverage to negotiate better rates. Plus, you'll spend countless hours researching, contacting venues, and arranging details that could be better spent on your actual job. Second option, you can hire a traditional travel agency. They will handle everything, but usually at a steep price, typically a minimum of 25K per event. For smaller events, that fee alone can blow your entire budget. The third option is using a modern platform like TeamOut. We offer free venue sourcing with an average of 30% savings thanks to pre-negotiated rates and the relationship we have with over 10,000 partners. And if you need full coordination services, our fee usually starts at 2K, which is a fraction of what traditional agencies are charging. But the venue sourcing is where the real magic happens. By focusing on this critical first decision, you impact every other aspect of your budget. So let me give you an example. We recently helped a tech company move their 50-person retreat from a Marriott to a boutique hotel just 10 minutes away. The expense was actually better, but they also saved 20K by making the switch. So another example, another client that was planning to hold their event in New York City. Until we showed them a similar venue in Europe that saved them 35%, including flights, while at the same time giving their team an international experience. These are not isolated cases. We see this kind of savings consistently across hundreds of events. So there you have it, the real cost of corporate events in 2025 broken down by all the factors that actually matter. So now let's quickly recap what we covered today. Corporate events typically cost between $1,500 to $2,500 per person for multi-day experiences, with accommodation taking up the biggest chunk of your budget at 36%. Group size is a game changer. Under 10 people, open up an entirely different venue option that can save you thousands of dollars. Location dramatically impacts your costs, with European destinations often being more affordable than most US locations, including flights. The difference between budget, mid-range, and luxury experiences isn't just about price. It's about the message you're sending to your team and what you're really trying to accomplish. And finally, how you plan your event, whether doing it yourself or through a traditional agency or a modern platform like TeamOut, can help you make 30% difference in your bottom line. Remember, the most successful corporate events aren't necessarily the most expensive ones. They are the ones that align with your company goals, culture, and budget, when also delivering a memorable experience for your team. And that's really the most important here. So if you're planning a corporate event and want to explore your options without any pressure, check out our free budget estimator tool in the description below. It takes just 2 minutes to get a customized estimate based on your specific needs. And if you found this information helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more practical guides on planning successful corporate events. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.